Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You should in front of you have your bell work assignment that you have completed. I would first like to go over the assignment, make sure that you correct it. When you are done with correcting your bell work, please put it in your blue energy folder. Please read the bell work as I'm going through it with you. The line graph below shows the growth of Terrell's tomato plants for 10 days. Notice this is a line graph. Notice that the day is on the bottom, the x-axis, and the height in centimeters of the plants is in the y-axis. We would like to know how tall was a tomato plant on 7 days. Very important that we note that it's asking us how tall it was on 7th day. So what I would do is I would look at the day 7 and I would move up until I see where it's going to hit with the height. Notice that height is in between 15 and 20. So automatically I could say that 3 cannot be my answer. I also can say that 12.5 cannot be my answer because it's between 15 and 20. I also note that 20 then cannot be my answer. So my answer is C. Okay. The next question asks you to simplify the expression below. This is an order of operations problem. You're noticing it's asking you to simplify. Okay. There's no equal sign because it's an expression. So the first thing I would do is on the side of my paper, I would write something that reminds me of order of operations, which we all know as PEMDAS. Apologize for my handwriting. I'm doing this on my computer and not on the smartboard, so it's not coming up as well as it should. But I think you guys get the point. PEMDAS, we start out with parentheses. There are no parentheses, but there is this weird thing with the lines. Those are called absolute values. So we're going to do them first. They're kind of like our grouping symbols, which are similar to parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. 4 plus 2 to the third power, again, bear with me with my handwriting, minus, now this right here is the absolute value of -4. Remember, think about absolute value as the distance away from 0. So think about that. Well, how far from 0 is -4? Well, even though it's negative, it's really just 4 spaces away. Remember, absolute value of any number inside is always positive. So therefore, absolute value of -4 would be 4. Alright, so the P is done. The next part is the exponent. Well, I see it. It's right here with where the 3 is. So then I'm going to write 4 plus, notice I'm rewriting the whole problem again, just putting it underneath. 2 to the third power. Well, that really means 2 times 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Let me try to make my 8 minus 4. Okay? E's done. Notice, it's very good for you to write the PEMDAS and then cross out, kind of like a checklist, to remember that you've hit all the parts. The next one is MD. If you don't remember, MD stands for multiplication and division. Notice there's no multiplication or division, so we can skip that step. The last step is adding and subtracting, not necessarily in that order. Remember, the reason why I'm writing one next to the other is because we're going to do it from left to right. We'll start out with the first section, which is 4 plus 8. Well, 4 plus 8 ends up being 12. Minus 4. 12 minus 4 is 8. And that is my answer. I like to circle my answer so then I know that I am all set. Now that you are done with your bell work, please put the bell work in your folder. You should also have in front of you your notes for today. It should be a packet that on top says world oil consumption and production. Make sure that you put your name, the date, and the group that you're in. I'll give you about a second or so to fill that out. Today we're going to analyze information and draw double bar graphs. Very similar to what we have done the last 2 days with the double line graphs. Today we'll be working on double bar graphs. If you remember, last 2 days we have been talking about energy, and specifically renewable and non-renewable energy, including energy that we use to produce oil that we use then to put in our tanks in our cars. Today we're going to discuss and compare how much oil we use as a country comparing to other countries. So when we talk about the word consumption, it means use. Consumption means use, and production means to make. So of course we make oil in the United States, but do we make enough as much as other countries? Or do we make enough that we use it all up, or do we use more? So today we're going to talk about that. Notice that our learning target today is I can graph and analyze double bar graphs given data. You should now have the packet in front of you. So let's read through the front page. As I'm reading it, please follow along in your packet. Background. Our country is mainly dependent on oil and coal for energy to run our cars, heat our homes, and give us electricity to make our appliances and television work. Unfortunately, the use of oil and coal also causes pollution, and it is predicted that we will run out of both of these resources in 40 to 60 years. Remember that question that I asked you in the last handout, how old you're going to be in 55 years? Well, that's about the time we're going to run out of oil. Something to think about, because you guys are not going to be that old. Though engineers are working to develop newer and cleaner ways to produce energy, people still need oil for everyday purpose. In 2003, the U.S. alone used 20 million barrels of oil a day, even though only 7.9 million barrels of oil a day were produced. So where does the rest of the oil come from that we use every day? Do we import it from other countries? That means, do we get it from other countries? Do we buy it from other countries? Will we run out, and what will happen if so? Because oil is not a renewable energy source like wind or water, it is predicted that we will deplete our reserves as early as 2045. It could be later, but as early as that. So before we start graphing and looking at the data, there is a section called Predict on your front page of your handout. It says, do not look on the back of the page. Predict what country uses the most oil. To think about, like, stack the countries. Think about all the different countries that you know of, including United States. Which country do you think uses more oil? I want you to answer that question right now. Another question also on the front page, it's about the third box, says which country produces the most oil? So the first question was, which country do you think uses the most oil? And the second question is, which country do you think makes most oil? So see if you can answer that one. Again, there is no right or wrong answer. This is just predictions, right? So we want to know just what happens.